Good morning. Welcome you all to my class on English first paper. In today's class, we will discuss lesson 2 of unit 1. I started lesson 2 unit 1 in my previous class. You all know that lesson 2 of unit 1 is on the speech of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman delivered on 7th March in 1971. I explained almost half of the speech, and in today's class I will explain the rest of his speech. Now, what I want to share with you, that why are we reading these lessons? Why is it necessary for us to understand the lessons of all these units? The reason is that we need to answer questions. You know, there are some items which are, I told you in my previous class, that there are some items which are directly related with the text, I mean the passages we are reading. And what are the question types? Firstly, you will have question answer. You have to answer the questions. At 5 questions will be there. A passage will be selected from the text. I showed you the text, and after that you will be given 5 questions, and you have to answer the questions. Each question will carry 2 marks. Now, for that reason, your understanding of the passage is very important. Secondly, there will be some multiple choice questions, 5 multiple choice questions, and you have to answer the multiple choice questions as well. And then you will have summary on a different passage, and you have to answer the summary as well. Now, dear students, one thing I want to tell you, that there will be separate classes on the techniques of writing summary, on the techniques of question answer, writing question answers and multiple choice questions. And there is another item, flowchart, I told you in my previous class, and this flowchart is also based on the passage given in the question paper. And moreover, these items are directly linked with the passages. And moreover, there is a paragraph item, and paragraph is also, we have noticed one thing, and we all know that paragraph which will be given is also linked with the lessons that you will read from the book. So this paragraph, apparently it may seem to you that paragraph is doesn't have any link with this text, but paragraph does have a link with the text. And the lessons you will read, you have to read these lessons very attentively, because the paragraphs have a link with this text. And theme writing, you know, this is again a new item for you. And there are some poems in the book, and these poems, we will read these poems, we will explain these poems. And these poems are also important because sometimes the students are asked to write the theme of the poems taken from the book. I mean, the theme writing, it is said that the poem or the text, it can be poem, it can be story, it can be any passage for theme writing. And you know that this passage can be unseen, this passage can be seen, this poem can be unseen, this poem can be seen. But if we look at the question papers of different boards over the last couple of years, we have noticed one thing, that in most cases poem is selected from the book in order to write the theme. That is why the poems that you will see in the book are also very important for theme writing. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These items are these two, I mean question answer and multiple choice. You will have a single passage and you have to answer questions and multiple choice type questions from the same passage, and then summary, then flowchart. And I have already said that paragraph and theme are also linked with the text. So from every point of view, your text is very important. So let's go to the speech of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. We studied up to almost half of his speech. Now in today's class we will complete the rest of the speech, and in the next class we will discuss some of the items that I wrote over here on this board. Now let's go to Bangabandhu's speech and explain. Dear students, we read up to this portion, this part of Bangabandhu's speech in our previous class. Now we will proceed, and we will try to explain the significance of his speech. Now, what have we got in return? Those who brought arms with our money to defend us from external enemies are now using those arms on the poor, the wretched, the downtrodden people of the land. Now, Bangabandhu asked question, what have we got in return? We are fighting against the Pakistani rulers, and
what have we got in return? We, the people of Bangladesh, we won in the election, but they didn't give us the opportunity to rule the country. And instead, we have got oppression and we have got suppression. Those who brought arms with our money to defend us from external enemies. So arms were bought with the money that we made money, and our money was spent to buy arms, and those arms were targeted against us. Those arms were used to kill us. So arms were bought with our money, and those arms which were meant to defend our country were being used against us. So how tragic it was. So this is the point Bangabandhu tried to raise before the people on 7th March speech. And he said that our poor people, the wretched people, and the downtrodden people were the target of their bullet. And look at the irony that the arms were bought with our money and the arms were being used against us. So it was very tragic. Bullets are being aimed at their hearts, and the bullets were being aimed at the heart of Bangladeshi people. We constitute the majority in Pakistan. Bangabandhu refers to the election, and Bangabandhu refers to the majority and in the election. But whenever we Bengalis have tried to assume power, they have used force on us. So, what did the Pakistani rulers do? They always used force against us. They didn't believe in democracy. When there was election, we won the election, but they didn't give us the opportunity to rule the country. So that is the tragedy with us. And Bangabandhu said, we constitute the majority in Pakistan, but whenever we Bengalis have tried to assume power, they have used force on us. So whenever we tried to assume, we tried to rule the country, we tried to govern the country, the Pakistani rulers, they used force against us. So that is the reality with the Pakistani rulers, and that is the reality that we Bangladeshi people experienced and suffered at that time. That the Pakistani rulers they always oppressed and suppressed us. I have had a talk with Mr. Yahya Khan. Bangabandhu continued. I told him, Mr. Yahya, you are the president of Pakistan. Now look at the style of Bangabandhu's speech. Look at the way he delivered his speech. He considered the people so close to him that as if he was speaking to them, as if he was expressing his emotions to some very close people. He considered the people of Bangladesh so close to his heart that he was addressing in such manner. The people were so close to him that he said, I told him, Mr. Yahya, you are the president of Pakistan. So Bangabandhu considered the people of Bangladesh so deeply from his heart. He felt for the people of Bangladesh so deeply from his heart that considering them as his own people, he addressed them in this manner. I told him, Mr. Yahya, you are the president of Pakistan. So, Mr. Yahya, you are the president of Pakistan. Come and observe how the poor people of my country are being mowed down with bullets. So, Bangabandhu informed and he said that he asked Mr. Yahya to come and, as the president of Pakistan, to see and observe how the poor people of Bangladesh were being killed with bullets, were being shot dead with bullets. Come and see how our mothers are being deprived of their children. So Bangabandhu again evokes the emotion of people telling referring to those scenes that the mothers were being deprived of their children. So this is the situation that prevailed in Bangladesh at that time. How my people are being massacred. So we all know that the people of Bangladesh were being massacred in the hands of Pakistani rulers. And Bangabandhu asked Yahya Khan over here to come here and to see and to observe the tragedy and to observe the kind of massacre that was going on in Bangladesh. Come, observe, and only then pass a judgment on what is going on. He asked Yahya Khan, he basically said that you come here and you see, you observe what is going on here, and then pass your judgment what is going on. He has apparently said that I had agreed to attend a roundtable conference on the 10th of March, and there was a kind of understanding that on the 10th of March there would be a roundtable conference, but we will see what happens. Didn't I say a long time back, Bangabandhu says, what is the point of another roundtable conference? So this sort of conference, this sort of meeting was always called, was there was always the initiative, but all these meetings, according to, we all know that all these meetings, they turned out to be fruitless because the Pakistani rulers, they are always motivated to deprive us. So behind every initiative, behind every meeting, behind the decision to hold meeting, there was the intention to deprive us. So that's why we lost our faith on them. Who will I sit with? So Bangabandhu asked the question that who will I sit with? Should I sit with those who have shed the blood of my people? So Bangabandhu asked the question, very vital question, that should I sit with those people who have shed the blood of my people? So is it fair to sit with those, to sit with them that who are so brutal, who are so cruel to us? So he says, he thinks, and he expresses his desire not to sit with them, his intention not to sit with them anymore, because these sittings, these meetings, basically were, as I have already said, were motivated by the Pakistani rulers to deprive us. He has suddenly dissolved the assembly without carrying out any discussions. So what I was saying, that the assembly was suddenly dissolved, and carrying out any discussions with me without making any discussion with Bangabandhu, they dissolved the assembly. After sitting in a secret meeting for 5 hours, he gave a speech where he has put all the blame on me. He has even blamed the Bengali people. So this was the situation. All the Pakistani rulers, they always pretended to carry out meetings. They always pretended to, assist, to show sympathy to us, but it was purely pretension. And as I have already mentioned, that behind every initiative there was an ill motive, and that is why these meetings turned out to be fruitless. And what happened ultimately, that he gave a speech where he has put all the blame on me. So every time when this sort of meetings failed, the blame was on Bangabandhu and the blame was on the people of Bangladesh. So that was their style. I mean, that was the style of Pakistani rulers. Now, my brothers, the assembly has been called into session on the 25th of March. So Bangabandhu says that assembly has been called on 25th of March, but the blood spilled on our streets has not yet dried. Uh, this sentence, this sort of sentences Bangabandhu has used in his speech, and these sentences are so powerful. These sentences are full of spirit, and it ignites fire in man. It ignites the spirit in man. The blood spilled on our streets has not yet dried. About the 10th of this month, I have told them Mujibur Rahman won't join the roundtable conference because that would mean wading over the blood that has been shed. So Bangabandhu said that I declined to join the roundtable conference. And why did I decline? Because if I would go to join the roundtable meeting, then it would be a kind of injustice to the blood shed by the people of Bangladesh. So that's why I didn't attend the meeting. So wading over, that means stepping on the blood of people of Bangladesh. So Bangabandhu declined to join the meeting. Although you have called the assembly into session, you will have to listen to my demands first. Bangabandhu gives some conditions, and he says that you have called the assembly into session, fine, but you have to listen to my demands first. So you have to fulfill the demands that we are raising, and then we will think. You will have to withdraw martial law. So the first thing you have to do, that you have to withdraw the martial law. You will have to return all army personnel to their barracks. So all the army personnels, they have to go to their barracks. So they have to go to their own places and not to stay outside. You will have to investigate the way our people have been murdered. And Bangabandhu again gave this condition that the Pakistani rulers, they have to investigate and the way our people, I mean Bangladeshi people, have been murdered. And you will have to transfer power to the representatives of the people. So up to this time, so far, the power was not transferred to the representatives of the people, because there was the vote, and after the vote, the power was not transferred. So it was injustice, purely injustice. So Bangabandhu gave some conditions on which we can think of the next step. It is only then, and Bangabandhu says, that if you fulfill all these demands, it is only then that I will decide whether we will take our seats in the assembly or not. So if you fulfill these demands, only then we will think whether we will take our seats in the assembly. I don't want the Prime Minister's office. So that is the speech of the greatest leader. Bangabandhu never hankered after power. So his main intention was to liberate the people of Bangladesh, and he voices it over here. We want the people of this country to have their rights. So that is the main intention, that is the main desire and wish of Bangabandhu, to liberate the people so that the people of Bangladesh can have their rights. I want to state clearly that from this day, Bangladesh's courts, magistracies, government offices, and educational institutions will be shut down indefinitely. Bangabandhu gave direct order, and you know how great he was as a leader, that when he gave the order, every person of Bangladesh obeyed him. That Bangladesh's courts, magistracies, government offices, and educational institutions will be shut down indefinitely. So Bangabandhu gave direct order. Now you understand that since the Pakistani rulers, they did not, make any kind of show any kind of intention to come to any conclusion, to make any kind of negotiation. That's why now Bangabandhu declared and these sort of steps. And what are the steps? Bangladesh's courts, magistracies, government offices, and educational institutions will be shut down indefinitely for an indefinite period of time. That was his order, so that the poor don't have to suffer. So that he was so sympathetic to the people that he knew that if these offices were being closed, then the poor people might suffer. That is why he thought about them, and he said, so that my people don't have to go through hardships, all other things will be exempted from the general strike from tomorrow. So Bangabandhu exempted, that means he allowed other vehicles, which are vehicles and other things which were basically on which the poor people were based for their livelihood, like in the next sentence you will see rickshaws, horse carriages, trains and launches will be allowed to move. But these vehicles or these you know things, basically the poor people, they run rickshaws and horse carriages, and trains were necessary for people, common people, to move from one place to other places, and launches for common people to run from to move from one place to another place. That is why Bangabandhu withdrew the bar on these transports. And what was the intention? His intention was to so that the poor people would not suffer. But he emphasized the courts, magistracies, government offices, and education institutions will be shut down indefinitely. But those offices and institutions should be shut down. But for the poor people, these rickshaws, horse carriages, trains, and launches were allowed to move. Only the Secretariat, the Supreme Court, the High Court, Judges Court, and semi-government organizations such as WAPDA will not be allowed to work. And these offices and these organizations were being closed according to Bangabandhu's order and his speech. Uh, you know, he gave direct order to stop Secretariat, Supreme Court, all the proceedings, the High Court, Judges Court, and semi-government organizations. Everything was being closed. On the 28th, employees will go and collect their salaries. Bangabandhu again gave order that on the 28th of month, the employees will go and collect their salaries. So look at his desire, look at his intention. He always wants that the people should not suffer. That is why he was giving guidelines in such a way so that the struggle continues, but the people don't suffer. If their salaries are not paid, and if the salaries are not given to the employees, if another bullet is fired, if my people are shot dead again, so he says that if the salaries are not given, if again the bullet is fired against us, if the people are shot dead again, I request all of you, Bangabandhu says. Again, you will see that he is giving a direct guideline for liberation work. And he said, convert every house into a fort. So confront the enemy with whatever you have. Now, Bangabandhu wanted that every house would turn into a fort, and to fight the enemy with whatever we had. So he knew that if the people of Bangladesh, they wanted, they if the people of Bangladesh they tried boldly against the Pakistani rulers, then we would definitely win the liberation war. And that's why he was inspiring the people to convert every house into a fort. And his voice, his tone, his use of words, his use of sentences, and everything in his speech was so meaningful, so significant, and so full of spirit that it motivates a person to try to go for the liberation war. And even at the risk of your life, and even I am not around to direct you. So Bangabandhu apprehended, since conspiracy was going on, he apprehended that he might be arrested by the Pakistani rulers, and he might not get the chance to guide the people, to govern the people. And that is why, even in the speech delivered on 7th March, we see here that he says, he gave a kind of hint to shut down all shops and make sure that traffic on all roads and ports are brought to a standstill. He said that even if I don't get the opportunity to give order, so then even then shut down all shops and stop all the vehicular movements. If needs be, we will starve to death them. We will starve them to death, but we will go down striving for our rights. And if there is necessity, then we will starve those Pakistani rulers to death, and we will make them suffer in our country. To those in the armed forces, I have this to say, and he is now giving directives to the people in armed forces. You are my brothers. He says that you are my brothers. Stay in your barracks, and no one will bother you. But don't try again to aim your bullets at our chests. So he was pointing to the people, in armed forces and saying that you stay in the barrack, nobody will bother you, and you are my brothers. So why will you shoot against us? So don't try to aim your bullets at our chests. You cannot suppress 70 million people forever. So it's not possible to suppress and oppress 70 million people for a long time. Since we have learned to sacrifice ourselves, no one can suppress us anymore. Uh, you know the significance of this statement, that since we, the Bangladeshi people, we have learned how to sacrifice ourselves, our lives, so it's not possible to suppress us anymore. And as for our martyrs and those who have been wounded, and Bangabandhu now talks about the martyrs uh, and those who have been wounded, the injured, we in the Awami League will do everything we can assist. Now you will see that he is also giving direction and directives to the organization. We can to assist them and their loved ones. And Awami League was trying to assist the people. If you have the means, please give what little you can to our relief committee. And Bangabandhu asked the people to give to the relief committee if it was possible for them. To owners of factories, he was now indicating the owners of factories whose workers had participated in the general strike the last 7 days. So the workers, they participated in the general strike in the last 7 days, and that's why Bangabandhu was telling the owners of the factories, I have this to say, make sure that they are paid wages for those days. So Bangabandhu asked them to give wages to the people, I mean to the workers who participated in the general strike. To government employees, I have this to tell you, and he also tells the government employees, you will have to listen to my directives, direct order, that you have to listen to me, and what I will say you have to obey till our country is liberated. You understand here that Bangabandhu gives almost a clear message to the people that the liberation war is going to take place, and until the country is liberated, taxes and custom duties won't be collected. So tax and customs duties were being also stopped by Bangabandhu. No one will pay them either. So he stopped it. Remember, the enemy is amidst means in the middle. The enemy is, and now Bangabandhu warns the people that what may happen, because the enemy is already is amidst us to create chaos and confusion. So the enemy will try to create a chaotic situation and confusion in our country, to create anarchy and to loot, and there will be loot, there will be a kind of anarchy in our country, uh, destruction in our Bengal. Hindus and Muslims, Bengalis and non-Bengalis are all brothers. So you understand that Bangabandhu also knew that there could be a kind of misunderstanding, and there could be a kind of misunderstanding among the people of different religion and among the people of different races, because the enemy is already amidst us. We are responsible for their safety. Let us not taint ourselves in any way. And Bangabandhu warned the people, made the people cautious about our prestige, so that our respect, our honor is not tainted anyway. Remember, those of you who work for radio and television, so those people who were working in radio and television, Bangabandhu also gave them direct order. What was the order? If the people running the radio station are not ready to listen to us, so he says that if the people working in the radio station, they are not ready to listen to us, no Bengali will report for work there. So he said that if they don't broadcast our news, our information, then don't go there. Banks will be open for 2 hours every day so that people can collect their salaries. Now, banks will remain open for only 2 hours every day because people need money, and so that the people can collect salaries, that's why banks will be open for 2 hours. But we won't allow even a single paisa to be transferred from East Bengal to West Pakistan. But a single paisa would not be transferred from Bengal to East Bengal to West Pakistan. Telephones and telegram services will continue as before in our East Bengal. So Bangabandhu said that telephones and telegram services would continue in East Bengal. If we have to transmit news abroad, you will see to that. And he knew that if there would be a situation like that, then we might feel the necessity to transmit news to abroad. But if any attempt is made to exterminate our people, but if there is any attempt to destroy our people, to kill our people, eliminate our people, then all Bengalis must take appropriate action. Bangabandhu said that if any such action or decision is taken to destroy the people of Bangladesh, then be careful and do according to your knowledge and according to your wisdom. From revolutionary committees under the leadership of Awami League in every village, every community, uh, now Bangabandhu asked to form revolutionary committees under the leadership of the Awami League in every village, in every community, because you need different, organization. You need organization and organized effort, and that's why Bangabandhu asked to do this. Be prepared to act with whatever you have in your possession. Again, he says, ask the people to say that to stay prepared. Remember, since we have already had to shed blood, we will have to shed a lot more of it. And that is very significant point. Bangabandhu says that since we have learned to shed our blood, we will have to shed a lot more of it. We will again give blood. And by the grace of God, however, we will be able to liberate the people of this land. And by the grace of Almighty God, He hopes that we will be able to liberate the people of this land. So you understand that he's towards the end of his speech, and he is giving a kind of indication that liberation war is going to take place. The struggle this time is a struggle for freedom. The struggle this time is a struggle for emancipation. Long live Bengal. Now, the last two sentences you can understand that in these two sentences, very famous sentences, and the struggle this time is a struggle for freedom. The struggle this time is a struggle for emancipation. So, almost clear statement that we are going to have a liberation war. And the struggle, Bangabandhu says that we are going to struggle for our freedom, and we are going to struggle for our emancipation. So the significance of Bangabandhu's speech is that in his speech you have already noticed that the speech is symbolic, because in Bangabandhu's speech we have noticed that he tells the history, I mean how we the Bangladeshi people have been oppressed, suppressed and tortured by the Pakistani rulers for a long time. And Bangabandhu also explained in his speech that we have tried our limit best to adjust, but it was not possible because we were deprived so much and we were tortured so much. And in his speech, you have noticed that the way he made his arguments, the way he used the language, the way he used metaphors and similes, and the way he used his tone in his speech, everything is extraordinary. and this speech is significant because in this speech we have noticed that there is clear guideline for liberation war, and he has given he has given a signal that we are going to have liberation war, and this war is basically war for or struggle for freedom. So almost a clear cut declaration. Now this speech, you know that in Bangabandhu's speech, you will have, or we have noticed, different aspects. You can look at his speech from different angles, from style, the content, the argumentative technique, and everything is important in his speech. And everybody knows this. His speech is is so significant for our country, for the liberation war. It was significant, and it is significant for our survival, and it is significant for Bangladesh. Now, dear students, I have already said when I was working on the whiteboard, I have told you that after completing every lesson, we have to focus on certain things. And what are the things? Question answers, and there is also summary writing, there is flowchart writing, and paragraph is also linked to these lessons, and theme is also linked to this lesson. So after reading every lesson, you have to make some practice on these items, as I have already mentioned. Now I completed this Bangabandhu's speech in 2 classes, and in my next class I will start another lesson, and gradually at first I would like to develop a kind of reading habit among the students of the text, because and the students have to first make a kind of habit, develop a kind of habit of reading the text, and after completing another lesson we will start solving different types of exercises, because when we will start solving exercises we will also require some knowledge, because we have to understand how to write summary, we have to understand how to write flowchart, and when you will start writing flowchart, you should have ideas about clauses and phrases as well. So when you will start writing summary, flowchart, and when you will start writing paragraph, you will also have to know the techniques of writing paragraph, and when you will start writing theme, you will also have to learn about the techniques of theme as well. So after reading 2 or 3 lessons, after making a kind of habit, I am telling you again and again, because we have noticed one thing, that the students are unwilling to read the lessons. So we want to make the habit first, and then we will go the items of that I discussed one by one. So in my next class I will explain a new lesson, and after discussing that lesson I will start the items that I discussed. Question answer, and multiple choice questions, then summary writing, then flowchart writing, paragraph writing, theme writing, and there are other tasks as well, like fill in the gap activities, with clues, without clues, you all know. Rearrange is also there. So these items will be discussed in separate classes. So I hope that you have understood Bangabandhu's speech, the significance of Bangabandhu's speech, because you have heard his speech many times, and the significance is very important, because we have also noticed one thing, that in many times you have seen that a paragraph on the significance of Bangabandhu's 7th March speech is being selected in the board examination. So that is also very important from this lesson. So for today's class, I would like to say that you have to read text at home, and you have to use the dictionary, and in my next class I will start another lesson, and after completing that lesson I will start the different items, question answer, and other items that I discussed. So till my next class, I would like to tell you Goodbye and stay safe. Thank you very much.